What up, though? The Daily Constitutionalist newspaper, Augusta, Georgia, Thursday, July 8th, 1847. 1847. These years are important because I'm sure they go against a lot of what many thought about what was happening during this time. $50 reward. Runaway from the subscriber, living on Flint River, 10 miles southwest of Thomaston, Upson County, Georgia, on Sunday, the 13th, without cause, a Negro boy by the name of Mac, who is no doubt making his way back to Guilford, North Carolina. I bought Mac this year from a Mr. Weatherby, a Negro trader. So here we have a Negro boy by the name of Mac, who the subscriber bought from Mr. Weatherby, a Negro trader. Mac is an intelligent, shrewd Negro, copper colored, well made, weighing 140 or 150 pounds, plump, round forehead. He carried off with him an olive cloth coat, pair of boots, white cotton shirt and breeches, and an old fur cap. He is 5 feet, old fur cap. He is 5'4" to 5'6" high. Mac can read and no doubt write. I will give $50 for his apprehension and proof to convict any white man that Mac was inveigled off by him, or $20 for Mac's detention. He says, I will give $50 for his apprehension and proof to convict any white man that Mac was inveigled off by him, or $20 for Mac's detention in jail. John T. Snipes. It says Mac was a Negro boy. And it also describes Mac as copper colored. Mac was sold to the subscriber by Mr. Weatherby, a Negro trader. And we know by Negro what is usually meant. Well, as we can see, it says copper colored. So we're speaking of someone brown, someone who looks like you, someone who looks like someone in your family. I'm sure Mac is an American, specifically an American Indian. More specifically, I would know. I would have to know Mac's family, just like I don't know who you are or what you are. Do you? It starts with learning who you are. That way, you can piece together your story and know exactly what your people called themselves. Because we can say American Indian, or we can say Alabama, or we can say a county in Alabama, or we can name a creek or a swamp of which was named after your people, possibly. And again, like I've said before, when reading these, runaway or ran away, it says ran away from the subscriber. It doesn't say runaway. They always name, they only tell you one name, the first name of the runaway, as if they don't have surnames. This could be. Or, like I've mentioned before, he could have ran away from relatives or left. A lot of people run away today. I'm not sure they're running away from work. Newspapers.com, the state newspaper. Columbia, South Carolina, Friday, April 16th, 1920. The state newspaper, Columbia, South Carolina, Friday, April 16th, 1920. $100 reward. Joe Andrews, escaped convict, tall, big-headed, long-jawed Negro, copper-colored. Here we go again. The Negro, copper-colored, wears number 9 shoe, walks with a limp in left leg. When last seen, had on shoes with rubber heels, black felt hat, arrest and notify. RN Broadwater Supervisor, Edgefield County. How many of y'all know, I'm not trying to be funny, how many of y'all know a tall, big-head Negro, copper-colored, who walk with a limp, who pimping? Joe Andrews, escaped convict, tall, big-headed, long-jawed Negro, copper-colored. The North American newspaper, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Thursday, March 20th. The year is 1800. The year is 1800. $80 reward. Ran away from the subscriber. At Newtown, Chester Ferry, Queen Anne's County, State of Maryland, the following Negroes, a woman named Nanny, went away on the 23rd of January, 1799, and took with her a mulatto female child about 2 years old named Ariana. Nanny is a dark yellow Negro. Let's go over this again. A woman named Nanny went away on the 23rd January 1799 and took with her a mulatto female child about 2 years old named Ariana. It's probably her daughter. It doesn't take quantum physics to figure this out. It's probably her daughter. Nanny is a dark yellow Negro. What is it? She's a yellow bone? A dark yellow Negro? Just like I said in the previous show, the Anglo-Saxon come here, and all of a sudden we 31 flavors now. The girl is a mulatto. Nanny is a dark yellow Negro. I'm not sure how you can be both of these things. About 5'4" or 5'5" high, remarkably handsome for a Negro. Her clothing unknown, as she took a variety of good clothes with her. She went off with a Negro fellow. She went off with a Negro fellow named Peter and calls himself Peter Simpson. He is the property of a certain William Bowers of Talbot County, state as above, who has advertised $100 reward for him. Peter is a stout, well-made yellow fellow. He a yellow fellow. Now, it makes me think about speeches when Malcolm X used to say, the red man, the yellow man, the black man. And when he said the yellow man, he was referring to people, I guess, Chinese people. But here we have Peter, who they said was a Negro fellow. And then it says he's a well-made yellow fellow. So he a high yellow. No. About 6 feet 1 inch high, is a tolerable, good carpenter. Nanny passes for his wife. Passes for his wife. Why she can't be his wife? It's so Nanny is his woman, and Ariana, the little girl, is their daughter. But her real husband is named Bob, who belongs to her master. So Annie was messing with Peter. She left with Peter. So Peter's her boyfriend. Maybe. It is probable they are in the neighborhood of Salem in the Jerseys, as they were there in October last. And by information, Peter had built himself a house to live in. Man, so they ran away. Peter gathered up the materials he needed because he was a good carpenter, and he made a house. This is something that you should be pushing your children. This is the direction you should be pushing your children in, the direction of being a good carpenter so that they can make their own dwelling. Peter had built himself a house to live in between Rum Bridge and Gold Town. It is likely they may have changed their names and may have passes, as Peter can write a middling hand. It is probable Nanny has another child, as it was thought she was in a pregnant state when she went away. So from reading this story, Nanny was messing with Peter, got pregnant, and they got little. The Weekly Natchez Courier, Natchez, Mississippi. Wednesday, August 28th, 1850. This is 1850. Thomas Woodward, 23 years old, dark copper color. Thomas Woodward, 23 years old, dark copper colored, stout made, upper front tooth broken off, 5 foot 4 inches high, says he belongs to Mr. Peterson, a Negro trader. Ran away October 1849. Committed July 28th, 1850. So Thomas Woodward was 23 years old, dark copper color. Copper colored. The Weekly Natchez Courier, Natchez, Mississippi. Wednesday, August 28th, 1850. The title is Slave Record. List of slaves confined at the places named. Slaves are people who were working for other people, or people who was picked up on bogus charges, or children who were kidnapped, or women who were kidnapped, or women who were picked up on bogus charges and put in a box. Mississippi, Adams County, at Natchez, Pierre Antoine, 19 years old, 5 foot 8 inches high, a scar on his right arm, of light black complexion. How can you be light black? What is he, gray? He's light black complexion, says he belongs to George Ionti, lower part of Adams County, Mississippi. Stephen, of copper color. Copper color. It seems to be that Most of these people are copper color. 25 years old, 5'8" high, short, or it's just a obvious description. Just like you put 20 of us in a room, it's an obvious description, copper color. It's just a lot of people call themselves black. I wonder if anyone calls themselves light black. Stephen, of copper color, 25 years old, 5'8" high, short made, having small whiskers and a small scar on his breast, says he belongs to John Henderson of Amite County, Mississippi. William, 17 years old, 5'5" high, light black complexion. Again, light black. So is he gray? Crippled in his right arm at the wrist, hesitates in speaking, and lisps. Says he belongs to John S. Mosley, Madison County, Tennessee. John Baptiste. John Baptate, I guess. Mulatto of dark complexion. So he's a mulatto of dark complexion. Which one is he? Is he a mulatto, meaning light-skinned, or is he of dark complexion? All this is confusing, and I'm sure it's meant to be. About 22 years old, 5'6" high, wears whiskers, because if they were talking about an Anglo-Saxon, the people who we term as white, they would just say a white man. That's it. There is no, they might say rosy cheeks, but there is no, he's dark white. He's light white. He's light bright white. John Bashiet, mulatto of dark complexion, about 22 years old, 5'6" high, wears whiskers, having in the letters GB on his arm, pricked in India ink. So he got a tattoo that say GB. GB. And his name is John Bashiet. So the GB could have been his name. John could just be, the G could stand for something that sounds like John. Says he is freed and that he resides in New Orleans. Committed June 20th, 1850. So all these people, again, they've locked them up on bogus charges regardless of what they say. Regardless of if they told him they didn't have any work obligations for these people who they're naming, or these subscribers. Holmes County, John Brown, about 30 years old, copper color, 5'6" high, weighs 150 pounds, small rings in his ears. Says he belongs to James McFadden of Washington County, Mississippi. It says John Brown, 30 years old, copper colored, Indian. They don't say Indian, but we all know that John Brown is an American Indian. Copper colored. It says small rings in his ears. Americans have always wore rings in their ears. I used to at one point. John Colbert, about 30 years old, copper color. Again, copper color. 5'6" high, weighs 170 pounds. Says he belongs to James McHatton of Washington County. So that was James McHatton, not McFadden. So James McHatton of Washington County, Mississippi, committed August 5th, 1850. Just like John Brown committed August 5th, 1850. That was his homie, I guess. And they locked them up together. Charles, about 28 years old, 5'6" high, weighs 130 pounds, copper color, copper color, has bushy head of hair, says he belongs to the estate of Colonel John Richardson of Vicksburg and has been runaway for 3 or 4 years. A raftsman named Bloom took him from Vicksburg up to Yazoo last fall. He ran away from him 5 months since. Committed August 8th, 1850. So I don't know about you, but what I'm getting from this is, like today, when you fill out a job application and you're not obligated to keep that job, you can quit at any moment. They can fire you at any moment. However, here it seems that when you make a commitment to work for someone, is what I'm getting from this. When you make a commitment to work for someone, you have to fulfill that commitment, or it's against the law to break that application, to break that contract. Also, it seems that if you're a wild Indian, if you're a roaming Indian, if you are a free man, you're only free until these law enforcement, and we don't know what complexion these law enforcement are. They could be light black until you run across them. And not only if you belong, say you belong to someone of prominence or someone that they know, but if you're just if you're just out being free, it seems that was a problem. And it seems that they were trying to fill their jails, or at least make it so that there was a purpose for their jails. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Hines County at Jackson. Betty, 15 or 16 years old, pale black, 5'2" in height, belongs to William Henry of Madison County, Mississippi. Committed May 30th, 1850. So they locking everybody up right now. This is stop and frisk right here. This is what this is, stop and frisk. But the only thing is stop and frisk, and it don't matter what you say. Again, they not gonna how long is it gonna take for them to return you to who you supposedly belong to? Or are they just gonna keep you locked up indefinitely? Betty is 15 or 16 years old. Pale black. She's pale black. What does that mean? Because black in the 1828 Noah Webster American Dictionary of the English Language, one of the definitions of black is pale. So she's pale black. I'm just as confused as you. The Weekly Natchez Courier, Natchez, Mississippi, Wednesday, August 28th, 1850. Sam, 20 years old, dark complexion, 5'2" high, says he belongs to John Hunter, a Negro trader living at Louisville, Kentucky. Ran away from Grand Gulf last Christmas. Committed August 14th, 1950. Sam says he belongs to John Hunter. Think about this. Sam says he belongs to John Hunter. Sam is 20 years old, dark complexion. He a grown up. First name only. Could he perhaps be John Hunter's son? And Sam just happened to be outside and ran into one of these demons. Perhaps. The weekly Natchez Courier, Natchez, Mississippi, Wednesday, August 28th, 1850. 1850. Charles, 21 years old. Very dark copper color. Very dark copper color. I want to see their color spectrum. I want to see their color chart because they got a more advanced color chart than we do. Again, it said they got a color chart that says light black. They got a color chart that says dark mulatto, yellow fellow. Charles, 21 years old, very dark copper color, high forehead, 5'5" or 5'6" high, says he belongs to Daniel Ragsdale of Aberdeen, Mississippi, committed June 30th, 1850. Again, it's just one name, just the first name. They give you the name of who he belongs to, who he said he belongs to. They give you the surname. It's a possibility Charles's father is Daniel Ragsdale. Could be Charles Ragsdale. They're not giving you any reason for committing him. Adam, again, just the first name. This will continue. Adam, 30 to 35 years old, dark copper color, high forehead, scar on the left hand, weighs 140 to 150 pounds, 5'7", says he belongs to John Hunter, a Negro trader. A Negro trader. A Negro trader doesn't mean someone who trades Negroes. A Negro someone who trades Negroes, a Negro. He said John Hunter, a Negro trader, means he sells stuff. He trades stuff. He belongs to a nigga that trades stuff. A businessman. Warren County at Vicksburg, Joe Bell, 25 years old, copper complexion, heavy whiskers, 5'5" or 5'6", ran away in February last, says he belongs to John Qualls of Yallowbush County, Mississippi. Yallowbush County, Mississippi. Date of advertisement, August 1st, 1850. William, about 33 years old, black complexion, 5'10", says he belongs to Colonel Courtney of Bayou Sarah, Louisiana. John, about 30 years old, black complexion, 5'11", has one tooth out in front and upper jaw. Says he belongs to Dr. G of Wilkinson County, Mississippi. Why don't they return them back to their families? The weekly Natchez Courier, again, Natchez, Mississippi, Wednesday, August 28th, 1850. Tennessee, city of Memphis, George, 5'10" high, dark copper color, weighs 150 pounds, says he belongs to O.F. Jackson. Coahoma County, Mississippi, George, 5'8" high, black, 21 years old, says he belongs to A.G. Ellis of Oxford, Mississippi, committed June 13th, 1850. Yeah, they kidnapping people. Fayette County, Jenny, 44? Does that say 44 or 14 years old? Black complexion, two under four teeth out. Says she belongs to W.H. Carter, Memphis, committed June 15th, 1850. Haywood County, John, 17 or 18 years old, 5'6" high, weighs 120 pounds, says he belongs to Thomas White of Panola County, Panola, Mississippi, committed June 29th, 1850. Panola County. William, 5'7" high, spare built, copper color, weighs 140 pounds, says he belongs to Rob Williams, Shelby County, Tennessee. Emily, 17 years old, copper color, 5'3" high, weighs 120 pounds, says she belongs to William Watkins, Shelby County, Tennessee. Committed June 24th, 1850. So if you, an American Indian, falsely called light black and black, and you just outside, it's a possibility if you bump heads with one of these demons, they gonna commit you. They gonna commit you. Shelby County, Pleasant. This is the name. Pleasant, 28 years old, weighs 150 pounds, dark copper color, 5'6" high, scar over left eye and one about the ear, a front tooth out, belongs to S. Buford of DeSoto County, Mississippi. Committed July 1st, 1850. Handy, 25 years old, dark copper color, 5'11" high, weighs 170 pounds, belongs to James Kent of DeSoto County, Mississippi. Committed July 4th, the 4th of July, 1850. Joe, 25 years old. What up, Joe? 25 years old, weighs 140 pounds, black complexion, 5'7" high, spare built and ruptured. Says he belongs to Colonel Thomas Gordon of Giles County, Tennessee. Committed August 13th, 1850. Tipton County, Bob, 30 years old, dark copper color. Says he belongs to Glenn Runnels, Marshall County, Mississippi. Committed July 7th, 1850. Y'all be careful out there, man. For these demons pick you up and commit you. And just put your first name in the newspaper or online. Parish of Concordia, Vidalia. Bob, 25 years old, light brown complexion. Light brown, okay, that's something that's familiar. Light brown. Well, copper color is very familiar as well, but I'm still messed up about a light black. Bob, 25 years old, light brown complexion, 5'8" high, says he belongs to D.D. Withers near Fort Adams, Wilkinson County, Mississippi. Parish of West Feliciana, St. Francisville. Madison, yellow. This is Madison, the name Madison. Yellow complexion, slim built, 5'9" high, about 24 or 25 years old. Says he belongs to James Powell, Lafayette, Parish of Jefferson. Committed August 7th, 1850. Henry, dark brown complexion, 4'9" tall, about 14 or 15 years of age. Says he belongs to Mr. Lloyd of New Orleans. Committed August 6th, 1850. You walk to the store, you walk to the general store, and boom, one of these demons pick you up. The state of Mississippi, Adams County, a Negro slave named Stephen of copper color, about 25 years old, 5'8" high, short made, having small whiskers and a small scar on his breast, dressed in blue cottonade pants, white cotton shirt, and black hat, was committed to the jail of this county as a runaway on the 19th of August, 1850, and says he belongs to John Henderson of Amity County, Mississippi. The owner is notified to comply with the law and take him away. So you couldn't be a nigger walking around here, man, without permission, it seems. Or not even permission. S.B. Newman is the sheriff. So this S.B. Newman had a problem. S.B. Newman had a problem with free men and free women and free children, free American Indians, free Americans. Natchez, August 23rd, 1850. The state of Mississippi, Adams County. This is still the weekly Natchez Courier newspaper. This is still 1850. They active. The state of Mississippi, Adams County, a Negro man named Pierre Antoine. Oh, we got a surname here, Pierre Antoine, of light black complexion, again with the light black, about 19 years old, 5'8", having a scar on his right arm, dressed in blue check shirt, castanet pants, russet brogans, and straw hat, was committed to the jail of this county by Justice Wood on the 21st August 1850 as a runaway. This Negro claims to be free, says he was sold out of jail in New Orleans for a limited period and purchased by George Ionti, who resides in the lower part of this county on the Mississippi River. The owner, if any, is notified to comply with the law and take him out of jail. Again, S.B. Newman is the sheriff. Y'all send that sheriff some emails, phone calls. Call that sheriff department. They locking up free American Indians. Democrat and Chronicle newspaper, Rochester, New York. This is July 11th, 1924. 1924. This is the year we read about the Walter Plecker Racial Integrity Act. But it seems that even before that, they were calling you light black. There is one complexion so singular among a sort of people that I never saw nor heard of any like them in any part of the world. The account will seem strange, but any privateers who have gone over the isthmus can attest the main of what I am going to relate. They are white, and there are of them both sexes. Yet there are but few of them in comparison with the copper colored. Their skins are not of such a white as those of fair people among Europeans, yet some tincture of a blush or sanguine complexion, but 'tis rather a milk white, and much like that of a white horse. So when they say a milk white, we have to think about real milk. They're talking about cow's milk. You know, the kind with the cream rising to the top. It's not that white like the milk you buy today that's been processed to be pretty white like that. White as the driven snow. Cocaine white. That's processed too. But 'tis rather a milk white, and much like that of a white horse. What is yet more strange, their eyelids bend and open in an oblong figure, forming an arch or figure of a crescent with points downward. From hence, and from their seeing so clear as they do in moonshiny night, we used to call them moon-eyed. But notwithstanding their being sluggish and dull, and restive in the daytime, yet they're restive in the daytime because the European, the Anglo-Saxon, they love to work for work's sake. Yet when moonshiny nights come, they are all life and activity. running abroad and into the wood, skipping about the wild bucks. The copper-colored Indians seem not to respect these so much as those of their own complexion. The copper-colored Indians seem not to respect these, the milky white people that the author of this article is talking about. The copper-colored Indians seem not to respect these so much as those of their own complexion. Look on them as somewhat monstrous. They are not a distinct race by themselves, but now and then one is bred from a copper-colored father and mother. So in the beginning, they would have us believe that these milky white Indians are somehow from another planet, okay? And now they're telling us, but now and then one is bred from a copper-colored father and mother. Some would suspect that they might be the offspring from some European father, but these white people are as different from Europeans in some respects as from the copper-colored Indians in others. How can they be different from the copper-colored Indians when you just told us that now and then one is bred from a copper-colored father and mother? Lacenta told me this as his conjecture how these came to be white. That it was through the force of the mother's imagination, looking at the moon. But this I leave others to judge of. Yeah. Okay. So they light skinned. And how many were there? They didn't give us a number. They didn't say we saw thousands of these milk white colored Indians. No, they didn't give us a number. The Anglo-Saxon he does have an imagination. St. Joseph Gazette newspaper, St. Joseph, Missouri, Wednesday, May 4th, 1892. 1892. An Indian albino baby. Sounds like what they were speaking of in the previous article. The father and mother fought to prevent its murder. Two swarthy Indians, or two dark Indians, husband and wife, together with their 9-month-old boy baby, which is a pure albino, have been arousing the wonder of visitors to the Academy of Sciences Museum recently, says the San Francisco Chronicle. So this is they're speaking of the Academy of Sciences Museum, he says, recently. And the year is 1892. Did you know in 1892 there was an Academy of Sciences Museum? And two swarthy Indians, a husband and wife, two dark-skinned Indians, husband and wife, with their 9-month-old boy, who was an albino, was arousing the wonder of visitors to that Academy of Sciences Museum recently. Taking into consideration the fact that its parents are full-blooded copper-colored Indians with the long, straight, coal-black hair peculiar to their race. There is small wonder that the baby has excited great interest among scientists and physicians. And I know when anyone hears long, black, coal-black hair, with long, straight, coal-black hair, I know when people hear this, they don't mean bone straight like the Anglo-Saxons, bone straight like what we term as white people. Understand, this is 1892. This is before every corporate office, every tall building with corporate offices that order reams of copy paper, which require thousands and thousands of trees to be cut down, making America not the forest that it once was. Understand what that means. It's not as much moisture. What is moisture? Liquid oxygen, perhaps? If the moisture is consistent all year round because of the abundance of trees, because people are living under the canopy, that means your hair is going to have moisture and maintain moisture. That means that your hair sometimes is going to fall. That means you'll be able to comb your hair down. And in some cases, it's wavy. And understand, when these people are speaking of your ancestors, they're speaking of those whom they came in contact with. Taking into consideration the fact that its parents are full-blooded, copper-colored Indians with the long, straight, coal-black hair peculiar to their race, there is small wonder that the baby has excited great interest among the scientists and physicians. Beware of the scientists and physicians. Its flesh and hair are as white as the feathers of a dove, although its features are of the pure Indian type. Now, what does that mean? I wish they would elaborate on that. But then it wouldn't be beneficial to their plight in 1892. Its eyes, however, possess the greatest interest for physicians. Oh my God, you're getting physicians involved. That means they're poking, prodding, poking. I mean, they got the little baby boy under a microscope. Its eyes, however, possess the greatest interest for physicians. They are constantly on the move, a fact which is accounted for by reason of some of the nerves being so affected that the eyes are peculiarly sensitive to the effects of light. And they're probably pointing some type of light in its eyes, in the baby's eyes, although the eyes of albinos are usually pinkish in color. Such is not the case with little Domingo, by which name the Indian baby is called. The color of his optics change when they are viewed from different positions. The colors they assume are pink, blue, green, and yellow. He is unusually bright. He is an unusually bright baby, able to walk a few steps without assistance, very good natured to strangers, and possessing an abnormally large head. He is a strong, well-developed youngster and gives every promise of being a giant when he attains his full growth. So do we got a abnormally large head or not? They said he's a well-developed youngster and gives every promise of being a giant when he attains his full growth. Green Bay Press Gazette newspaper, Green Bay, Wisconsin, April 21st. This is Monday, April 21st, 1884. The Indian and the Dude. On a Fort Wayne train approaching Chicago, there was a short-statured, straight-haired, copper-colored Indian going back to the reservation after a trip to the Indian school at Carlisle, Pennsylvania. He wore a nice suit of clothes, which fitted badly. He wore a nice suit of clothes, which fitted badly, and a paper collar without any necktie. He attended strictly to his own business. He was minding his business and was unmolested until a young prig came into the smoking car from the sleeper. An Indian, I guess, said the young chap as he lighted a cigarette, and then approaching the son of the plants, he attracted general attention by shouting with strange gestures, "Ugh, heap big engine, Omaha, Pawnee, see great feather, or see great father, have drink fire water, warm engine's blood." So the guys, so homie messing with him. The Indian minding his business, homie say, an Indian, I get, the young chap or the young prig, I'm not sure what a prig is, came into the smoking car from the sleeper. This is what he said. An Indian, I guess, said the young chap as he lighted a cigarette. And then approaching the son of the plants, the Indian, he attracted general attention by shouting with strange gestures, "Ugh, heap big engine, Omaha, Pawnee, see great father, have drink fire water, warm engine's blood." The copper-colored savage gazed at the young man a moment with an ill-concealed expression of contempt on his face, and then he said with good pronunciation, "You must have been reading some dime novels, sir. I am going back to my people in Montana after spending 3 years in the East at school. I advise you to do the same thing. No, I do not drink whiskey. Where I live, gentlemen do not carry whiskey flask in their pockets." The cigarette was not smoked out, and amid a general laugh, a much crestfallen young man retired to the sleeping couch. The Dustonian, Dustin, Oklahoma newspaper, Friday, November 17th, 1916. 1916. Wilitka getting back bonus. Wilitka getting back bonus. Sound like your cousin name, Wilitka. That's your cousin, Wilitka. Getting back bonus. Following is an article taken from the Railway Carman's Journal, giving a mild little description of our neighboring town of Wilitka. Wilitka. Editor Journal. If you will allow me space, I will endeavor to let the brothers and all concerned at other places hear from North Canadian Lodge number 296 in Wilitka, Oklahoma. At present, we have about 23 working in the car department and could use more. We will have to compare this place with Chicago, not in size, but in high cost of living. This is 1916. We will have to compare this place with Chicago, not in size, but in high cost of living and high rent. The Fort Smith and Western have just moved their shop from Dustin to this place. The citizens of Wilitka gave the FS&W $17,000 for the shops and boasted they would make the employees pay them back with 100% interest. And believe me, they are. Houses that rented for $4 a month have advanced to $10 a month. No water to drink either. So beware, Brother Carmen, and give Wilitka a wide berth. You have heard people say, oh, nothing but a frog can live up there. Well, I say, and am backed up by others, that nothing but a nigger or Indian, in parentheses it says, nigger Indian, can live in Wilitka. He says, well, I say, and am backed up by others because they said, you have heard people say, oh, nothing but a frog can live up there. Well, I say, and am backed up by others, that nothing but a nigger Indian can live in Wilitka. Of course, it's named after a nigger Indian. The people there have robbed the niggers and Indians until they are afraid to look at a white man in the face. They have a kind of hangdog look. And the minute they start talking to anyone, they start explaining about the reason and why. So, as I said, beware, Brother Carmen. Let Wilitka have those shops all to its lonesome and stay away. With best wishes to all, I remain your fraternally a member of number 296. Sound like some Masonic stuff to me. Up in Wilitka. The Zanesville Signal, Zanesville, Ohio, Tuesday, May 12th. Tuesday, May 12th, 1908. The retort courteous. Senator Jeff Davis of Arkansas, in discussing an Indian bill the other day, alluded a number of times to nigger Indians and Indian niggers. This is the Noah Webster, 1828 American Dictionary of the English Language, the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, Webster's American Dictionary of the English Language. American, a native of America. Now, it means a native of American, an American. American, a native of America. Originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper colored. There that word goes again. Copper colored. American. Originally applied to the copper colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America, as well as the descendants of anyone from Afro-Eurasia born in America, right? American. Originally applied to the copper-colored races. Do the right thing.